There's been this guitar phenomenon in the past couple of years that's always really intrigued me, and therefore I've always looked very deeply into it. And that is the phenomenon of smart guitars. You know, stuff like this, or perhaps even this. And you might not actually know what this is yet, but there is a video coming out about it this month, or not really dedicated to this thing, but more so to the evolution of smart guitars. Now, all three examples that I've just shown you of what a smart guitar can look like have a different price tag respectively, but none of them are even remotely close to costing $129. So imagine my surprise when the other day I go to open my phone and I see that Harley Benton has apparently released a smart guitar for €129. The Harley Benton ST JAMster. And the price tag on this thing is so ridiculous that I don't actually know what to make of it. And so my only real option was to buy one and find out. Now, real quick, before I actually dig into the box, let's go over what the specs on this thing are supposed to be. So, physically, it's obviously just the cheapest of the cheap of Stratocaster copies in an HSS configuration that you can get. Poplar body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard, the usual. But what makes this one special and sets it apart from other cheap Harley Benton Stratocaster copies, or Strat copies of really any brand, is that it's supposed to have 5 integrated sound and effect modes. We've seen this on other stuff before. We've seen it on the Enya Nova Go Sonic, which I've reviewed. We've seen it on the Moore GTRS guitars. We've seen it on so much other stuff, but all of that costs upwards of like $350 to $380, and that is the low end. That's the Enya Nova Go Sonic. The Moore stuff, the actual solid body electrics that aren't self-amplified or made of carbon fiber, are closer to $700, $800, or $900. So naturally, this really intrigues me. Now, I did say I bought it, and that is correct. That is 100% true. I spent $129 of my hard-earned big boy dollars. Nobody sent it to me. Nobody is paying me to make this video. Making reviews independent like this is not always possible, right? If you review stuff that costs $2 or $3 grand, it's impossible to do that independently and buy all of that shit without only, borrowing it from the music store and then sending it back afterwards, which is stupid. So usually, I will have a brand send something out and compensate me for the time that it takes me to make the review, while retaining all of my own thoughts and opinions and not letting them affect what I am going to say. There are people, though, who innately have some distrust in that for some reason, which is unjustified, but if that is you, then at least you can watch this video without any shadow of a doubt that it is 100% completely honest. Let's dig into the box. And here's the obligatory junk cable, thank Jesus for that. Headstock reveal. Let's get her out. Let's get this parchment paper off. And here it is. Why am I holding it this way? So you can read the description of what all of the knobs and switches do when you touch and fiddle them. Now, usually, I will not do reviews right out of the box for something, right? I like to spend at least a week with it. There is really nothing here to be spending a week with, right? It's the cheapest Strat copy in the world. It's literally just the most basic thing you can make in a guitar factory. The bit that I'm interested in is the built-in sounds, and whether or not that actually makes this worth buying a guitar that otherwise, quality-wise, is really obviously not going to be outstanding. First impressions, the fret ends are quite sharp. That has nothing to do with Harley Benton's quality control or anything. It has to do with where these are being shipped from and where they are being shipped from that place. If they are stored in an environment that's very humid and shipped to somewhere that's very dry, there is going to be fret sprout, and if it's the other way around, then fret sprout could even sort of fix itself because the wood expands again even though it was very dry in the warehouse where it was being stored. So what I assume the active-passive switch on this thing does is that if you set it to passive, you can just play this thing through an amp like any regular guitar, and if you set it to active, what comes out of the input jack is the signal including the distortion and the effects that you put on it. It does not appear to have a tone knob. Instead, it has volume, gain, and then the 5 sort of built-in effects. It's got clean, clean plus reverb, overdrive, distortion, and distortion plus delay, which is a strange setup. I would have gone with distortion plus reverb, maybe with, optional extra delay. But let's plug this thing in and let's actually see what it can do. And yes, this video is mainly going to be a review of what makes this somewhat fancy, as opposed to the guitar itself, because, again, all of you, 99% of you, will have played some sort of $100 to $200 Strat copy before. You know what this feels like. This may look exactly the same as 3 seconds ago to you, but between this clip and the last one actually lie multiple hours in which I thoroughly tested the Harley Benton ST JAMster. And what is my takeaway from this $129 effects built-in smart guitar, if you will? 3 out of 10. Let me explain. The tones are good enough for practice, but they are objectively very, very, very mediocre. And unfortunately, and this is what pretty much sealed the deal for me right out of the box, this guitar, unsurprisingly given its price tag, is no good. It doesn't stay in tune, it feels very terrible, and this feature, cool as it is, would be better off inside a guitar that costs an extra $100 to $150. I get that this is clearly meant to be somebody's first guitar, right? But as your first guitar, this would be likely to cause nothing but frustration. The pickguard loaded with these electronics would be a fun thing to put out on its own as a product to put on different strats of any price range. For example, you have a Mexican strat, and you could just put a pickguard with this on it, but leave your old pickups in. But this thing as it is a disappointment. So let me just quickly outline the key differences between this and something like the Moore GTRS smart guitars. Now, that's not a direct comparison, of course, because those things cost about 6 times as much as this does, but still, it's roughly the same product category, just 2 different price ranges. While the tones in the Moore GTRS are actually good enough to record with, and honestly, I'd even say good enough to play like a local show in a bar or something with, this is clearly not meant for anything more than practicing with. What makes the GTRS a smart guitar is that it comes with an app to control pretty much everything. Your entire signal chain. You can add effects, take them away in the form of virtual pedals, you can change the cab, you can change the amp. This is very bare bones. All you get with this is a gain knob and clean distortion and drive. You do get reverb and delay, but you don't get to just add those and take them away. There are 2 presets, clean plus reverb and distortion plus delay. But again, that's not supposed to be any sort of direct comparison at all, because the fact that this is very, very bare bones should be immediately obvious to anybody, given its price tag that amounts to less than the price of this one DiMarzio pickup. Generally speaking, this is surely a fun practice tool, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that you can get enough gain out of the distortion setting to really bring out some pinch harmonics. But, and this is a very, very large but, anybody using this for practice is inevitably going to get very frustrated because the guitar itself is bad. The lacquer on it feels like cheap and squeaky. I know it is cheap, but there are cheap guitars with good feeling finish. This isn't one of them. The neck is unfinished, which is one of the worst perils of purchasing a guitar in this price range, is just a neck that feels like absolutely fucking nothing. And you can get about 2 minutes of solid tuning stability out of these things. If you invest a couple bucks more, and I really do mean a couple, like an extra $40 in total, into a guitar that doesn't have a printed circuit board with built-in tones inside of it, you will get something like this Squier Sonic Stratocaster. Now, yes, I've modded this one beyond recognition with a new bridge, a Fishman pickup, and Kirby on it, but this used to be a €169 guitar that absolutely blew me away for the price, and that surely, absolutely blows the Harley Benton out of the water. I made a video on this before modding it, back when gear content was still going over on 6-string TV, so that might be in the info card somewhere in this video, but don't actually click off this video and go watch that now, do that later. So while I will leave an affiliate link to the Harley Benton ST JAMster in the description in case you want to try one out for yourself and form your own opinion, which is completely valid, I will also suggestively place an affiliate link to the Squier Sonic Stratocaster right below it. If a guitar the quality of the Squier Sonic Strat, which obviously isn't the greatest guitar in the world, but a super solid budget option, if a guitar like that had this feature, that would be an absolutely insane deal for sub $200. But as it stands, if you are a beginner, you don't want to be putting any extra intentional obstacles in your way in the form of a guitar that doesn't work good. If this had been any good, I would have kept it. It's got a headphone out and an auxiliary out, so it could have been a viable option for practicing on the go while, traveling if I'm spending a couple days in a hotel or something. But as it stands, all I can see it being used for is a guitar for jamming by a bonfire with your friends that wouldn't be a huge financial loss if it accidentally fell into the bonfire. But since Harley Benton now have the pickguards routed for and loaded with these electronics, technically there is nothing stopping them from putting this inside a $200 or $300 Strat copy in the future, thereby making it a cool product. Should that happen, I would be able to recommend it as a first guitar, something like that. Maybe even if you're a professional musician and you just want a beater to, take with you, but you don't want a headless or anything, you just want, something that you can listen to on the go with headphones on. Because for that, for like, a 25-minute hotel practice session, the tones are good enough, especially if you switch to the lead tones, the distortion plus delay section, but that has yet to happen, so it's not really worth wasting much energy thinking about. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has been interesting to you. I have no sponsor to thank in this video because I bought this with me own money, but if you like this video, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe do some gear shopping through my affiliate links in the description below. You don't have to buy this, you don't have to buy a Squier Sonic Strat, you can buy anything that your heart desires, that you were going to buy anyway, but if you do it through my links, it enters you into my Roasting Your Gear Purchases series, and it helps out the channel because I get a commission. Thank you so much, and good night.